both of the Tron players we have in the top 8 are playing against relatively slow decks that play a lot to the board and don't do a ton to disrupt mana, and that's usually a good matchup for Tron.
Aintrazi's on your left. JB Milo is on your right. The players have been given the green light, and we are going to be underway. Milo's number 4 overall seed, so he will be on the play. He's going to start by sacrificing a Marsh Flats to begin our quarterfinals.
Now, Abzan Company is capable of some very explosive draws and some very fast kills, and it really takes Tron, you know, with its good draws probably turn 4 before it really starts locking out the board with Oblivion Stone or with Ugin. So JB's most explosive draws on the play are pretty tough for Ali to answer outside of Pyroclasm.
Now, Pyroclasm's the big one that Ali's going to need. Now, he does have 4 copies of that card in his main deck. And you mentioned Oblivion Stone. There are 3 of those, along with 2 copies of Ugin. So once Ali's able to get to 8 mana, life is pretty good. His draw step here was a Chromatic Sphere.
And I know when Ugin was spoiled, it was a card that a lot of people pointed to be going to Tron. I know that you were a little skeptical initially, but it seems like for these kind of matchups, very, very valuable card to have.
Ugin is certainly the end-all, be-all if Ali can get to it. So he starts things off with a Chromatic Star. Here's a Birds of Paradise. This will be a Viscera Seer. That's a Birds of Paradise and a passing of the turn. This is where Pyroclasm would be good.
Yeah, pretty solid card to have right now.
Yeah. Ali's going to start by sacrificing Chromatic Sphere. Excuse me, Chromatic Star. We'll see what color of mana he wants.
JB would get to scry a bunch, which is nice, but Pyroclasm would be really good right now.
The thing that Ali does not have, apparently, is another land. Now, one of the things you have to do with Tron is you do have to keep some land light hands with this deck because you do have a lot of ways to cycle through your deck.
I believe Ali was already on 6 cards.
Yep.
So 1 Tron piece and some cantrips, a reasonable 6-card hand.
You're keeping every time. Viscera Seer is going to come in for 1. Aintrazi's going to go down to 19. The follow-up here from Milo is a copy of Eternal Witness. That'll get him a land back. That'll be a Marsh Flats. Pass the turn back. Aintrazi will take a draw. Again, Pyroclasm will still be very, very good. Picked up a copy of Urza's Power Plant. Looks like he may be starting with the Sphere. Now the question here, I think, if you're Ali, because he doesn't have Pyroclasm in his hands, if he wants to break for a green or a red. If it's a green, maybe he works his way into Ancient Stirrings or Sylvan Scrying. If it's a red, maybe he draws Pyroclasm. Picked up a copy of Urza's Tower, which is pretty useful, actually, here.
To me, I would be breaking for red because the upside on drawing Pyroclasm is the highest thing for Lee right now. I know there's more green cards than red cards, but right now Pyroclasm is significantly more valuable.
So he's 2/3 of the way to the Tron. Has a Power Plant and a Tower in play. He's just looking for the Urza's Mind. Currently has a mana floating. He'll play an Expedition map. And now he'll play a Chromatic Sphere. And that'll be the turn. So Tron can be online next turn with the use of the map. He could also just draw the Urza's Mine and have access to 7 mana. But he's off to a very slow start here. And for what it's worth, Milo's start isn't that great either, but there are some explosive things available for JB depending on what his hand is.
Does not take a lot for JB to assemble a kill from this spot. So you are correct. Ali is guaranteed to have Tron next turn, though whether or not it's with a couple mana or the full 7 remains to be seen. But JB is potentially able to cobble together a kill as quickly as this turn with the right cards.
Now, one thing to keep in mind, as you mentioned right at the top, infinite life is not something that defeats Tron because of Karn's ability to restart the game. So it's going to have to be infinite damage. Now, infinite life is something that can buy some time, I suppose. But at the end of the day, infinite life is not something JB is terribly interested in. It's about getting infinite damage via Murderous Redcap.
I'm sure that if JB can get infinite life, he might as well. There's no harm in doing it, but he should not be going out of his way to do it. He happens to draw the cards that allow him to do it. Sure, go to a billion, but he should not be using his chords in that capacity.
Here's an attack for 3. Aintrazi's going to go down to 16. 4 mana here. It's a Voice of Resurgence. Let's make it 2 of those and a passing of the turn. Pyroclasm's still okay on this board.
Absolutely. I mean, JB would get to keep some Voice of Resurgence tokens, but that's not that hard for Ali to beat, especially with Tron assembled.
Ancient Stirring's the draw. Right now, the big issue and why Ali probably has to find Pyroclasm, and the map that he's doing is if JB just says, I'll sacrifice both my Voice of Resurgences to the Viscera Seer, get my elemental tokens. Those are 6/6 tokens.
Exactly. So you have 6, 12, 13, 14, 15 points of damage in play. If JB has any creature in his hand, that's a lethal
Yeah,
attack.
it's lights out then. Ollie's going to start by sacrificing an Expedition map.
Now, Expedition Map still allows him to get a Tron piece, assemble Tron, break the chromatic piece for red, draw Pyroclasm, and proceed.
And cast Pyroclasm.
Yes, he can do this all now.
Yep.
So
this gives him a chance to work his way into Pyroclasm. Update for you guys on our backup match. Richard Adams on the draw up a game over Tron. So Merfolk currently up a game.
Merfolk is a really charming deck, and the match that Richard had against Todd Anderson, where he won the second game when it looked like Todd was just grinding him down to a nub, one of the more impressive games of the tournament, in my opinion.
Gotta break that star. It's a red mana that's floating along with a colorless, so he's looking for Pyroclasm. That's an Oblivion Stone, a card that's very, very good in this matchup, but not right now.
And that is a day late, dollar short kind of draw. Next turn, Oblivion Stone would be great, but Ali is not looking to get another turn here.
Ali gonna maybe crack this star for a green mana to cast Ancient Stirrings, we'll see.
The problem here is that on Lee's side of the table is JB's missing land drops, so you can't hope that his hand's all lands, which is essentially the only thing that Ali can beat in this spot.
There's Ancient Stirring, so take a look at the top 5, take a colorless card with them. It can be a land, it can be Relic of Progenitus, Wormcoil Engine, any of those cards. So right now, if you're on Aintrazi, you are hoping that Milo misses this with Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah. I don't think JB is going to miss it.
Ali gonna take a long look. Gonna select Urza's Mine. Those other cards will go to the bottom, Mine in hand. Pass that turn back. Milo does not miss the Voice of Resurgence combination with Viscera Seer.
I do appreciate that Ali went through his turn and thought about the Ancient Stirrings and eventually revealed, like he felt he wasn't dead on board.
Yeah.
It's important for Ali to at least represent that. Yeah, I feel like we're playing on here. Even though Ali knows that he's dead if JB sees it, part of making JB not see it is acting like nothing out of the ordinary is going on.
There's a creature, Anafenza. This will be a lethal attack now. And that is going to do it. JB Milo is going to win game number 1 here over Ali Aintrazi. Abzan Company up a game over green-red Tron.
You can see a little bit of frustration there with Ali. Had a pretty poor draw, started to draw out of it, was not playing against one of JB's better draws. And I think Ali knows with one more turn, he might just lock JB out of the game. But unfortunately, Voice of Resurgence just generated too much power too fast.
We'll take a look at the sideboards now for these players and what they have access to. And we're going to start with Ali Aintrazi and his copies of Crucible of Worlds. He also has 3 copies of Rending Volley, 2 Thragtusk, 4 Nature's Claims, a Relic of Progenitus, 2 Boils, and a Ghost Quarter. In this situation, if I'm Ali, I'm not going to change a ton of my deck. The matchup is still very good, even though he did lose that particular game. You know, I want the additional copy of Relic of Progenitus because I'm playing against a deck that has Kitchen Finks and some persist action going on, so it's certainly fine in that regard. Can also break up the infinite combo a little bit.
Eternal Witness is a card in JB's deck, and Relic of Progenitus has a very low opportunity cost. Ali can always cycle it, so I think that's an easy one to bring in.
But outside of that, you know, there's not a lot to change here. Nature's Claim isn't something you need. Ghost Quarter is fine against Scavany Township, but again, that's not something that you should probably need. You don't really need Thragtusk. Obviously, JB's not playing blue, so Boil is unnecessary. Crucible of Worlds, all that stuff, not really necessary. It should be a minor change if I'm in Ollie's position of just adding a relic, probably cutting a Wormcoil Engine and just moving on with life.
Yeah, there is, you know, some argument for the Ghost Quarter because of Scavany Township, but there's already 2 copies in Ollie's main deck, and I'm pretty sure that the extra Ghost Quarter is for the Tron Mirror Match or things that are more specifically hubbed around lands. On JB's side of the table, a Avid Mind Sensor, a Big Game Hunter, Blood Baron of Vizkopa, 2 copies of Brereton Forge Tender, a Reclamation Sage, a Sin Collector, an Abrupt Decay, a Dismember, a Murderous Cut, an Anafenza the Foremost, a Kataki's War's Wage, 3 copies of Thoughtseize. Cards that stand out to me here, the copy of Reclamation Sage. Ali brings a lot of artifacts to the table, even if he's just tapping out for maps and stuff. Very nice to hit that. 2 copies of Brereton Forge Tender is really good protection against Pyroclasm, which is one of the more problematic cards for JB in the matchup. I think there's enough searching in Ollie's deck with Expedition Map and so forth for Avid Mind Sensor to be fine to bring in. I don't know if he wants the Thoughtseizes. Tron is a pretty redundant combo deck, and it's hard to break it up with Thoughtseize. That said, there are some anemic creatures in JB's deck that he can pretty easily cut. He's got copies of Abrupt Decay that don't do a ton. If he wanted Thoughtseize, he could probably make the room for it.
Yeah, I think he can make the room for Thoughtseize. It will be mediocre. If he draws a Thoughtseize or has Thoughtseize in an opening hand, it doesn't make the hand like an automatic keep. It's just all part of what's in his deck.
Yeah, there's going to be some hands where Ali is really leaning on Ugin or Oblivion Stone or Pyroclasm to contain JB's board. And if you Thoughtseize those kind of hands, it can be good. But there's a lot of hands you're going to look at that are just mana and Ancient Stirrings and artifacts that cycle, and Thoughtseize is pretty poor against those kind of draws.
These players will shuffle up here for game number 2. We'll talk about the Season 3 schedule on the Open Series, which is underway right now. You guys can't see behind us, but we are in day 2 of our modern main event, 2-day 20K tournament. So we'll be crowning a champion there and giving away 25 Open Series points. And then we'll be having a little action in Charlotte. Though it's not an Open Series event, it is a Grand Prix. We are certainly looking forward to that.
Yeah, for you Modern fans, what a good weekend here. We have our Invitational Top 8. We have our Open Series event, which I think has a shade under 900 players playing it, an enormous Open. And the next week we'll be in Charlotte. After that, we go to Indianapolis and Baltimore in June for standard Open Series events. Take a couple weeks off, go to Chicago for the first time in Open Series of history. After Chicago, we go to Richmond for a standard Open, Legacy in Washington, D.C., a standard Grand Prix in London, a modern Open Series back in Charlotte, and then the Season 3 Invitational in New Jersey with standard and Legacy as the invitational formats, and a 2-day $20,000 standard Open Series event August 28th through 30th.
Don't forget, whenever you do sign up for a main event during Open Series dates,
Yeah!
Tassiger. Yep, I can't even say it because you won't let me. Tassifer, the Golden Paw is our Season 3 playmat. It is available, no strings attached. You sign up for the main event of our Open Series events, you get this bad boy for free.
Totally free, just for signing up. You get it at the event. There's no limit. You know, it's not the first 200 people or whatever to sign up. Everyone who participates gets this sweet playmat.
And clearly, Patrick is a big fan.
Yeah.
So both these players are going to take a look at their opening hands. It looks like JP's taking a mulligan here, while Ali is happy with his 7. Again, Ali's going to be on the play here. Our backup match, Christopher O'Brien, he's on Tron, playing against Richard Adams, who's on Merfolk. O'Brien, our #1 overall seed. Adams, our #8 overall seed. And Adams is currently up a game with his Merfolk deck. Aintrazi, I'm sure, will be back in just a moment.
Yep. Taking a quick break here. Tassiper, the Golden Paw, and Bananas, the Slave Dog.
Yeah.
Very popular playmat.
Bananas, huh? That's the name?
I was told that.
Okay.
That came into my headset yesterday.
Were you told it was also called, was it the comma the slave dog?
No, that's me.
You added that. Okay.
I added that,
All right, I just
yeah.
want to make sure. Have to talk to the people who name our playmats here and name the characters in them. Bananas is happy.
Yep.
Living the dream. See if JB can find a better hand here as he takes a look at his 6. He's going to keep. We'll be underway here for game number 2. See how Aintrazi starts things. He'll begin with an Urza's Mine, a Chromatic Sphere, and a passing of the turn back over to Milo. Picked up a copy of Verdant Catacombs with his first draw step. A Temple Garden tap, pass the turn back. Power plant now in hand for Aintrazi.
How excited does this make you?
Oh, you know I love Tron.
Oh, yeah.
Though if I am being honest, he has Urza's Tower in hand, so Tron will be complete. Not entirely sure why he brought Thragtusk in the matchup. It's just really not what the matchup's about.
Right. I mean, JB can win with the beatdowns. That'll come up from time to time. But it feels like most of the time, if Ali has a good draw, JB's going to have to combo out in some capacity. And Thragtusk doesn't really do anything if JB's comboing out.
Yeah. The 5 life isn't terribly relevant. JB's going to go wide against you, so having the big body doesn't really matter very much either.
JB can also fly over.
Yeah.
And again, it does nothing to the combo.
Yep. Aintrazi will take a draw.
I mean, we saw what happened game 1, but that kind of game feels like the exception rather than the rule. And a lot of it had to do with Ali just having a poor start.
Yep. Just didn't really do all that much. Tron is online. And there's a Worm Coil Engine in hand.
Oblivion Stone as well. Very solid hand here. And if anything, you were advocating for Ali to take out a Worm Coil engine. That's like one of his softer, big plays in the matchup.
The ways that you win this matchup against them is you just contain them from doing anything. So it's not even really about attacking or blocking. You're the control deck in the matchup. So as a result, all you're doing is saying, okay, I'm going to Oblivion Stone all your stuff away. I just don't want you to be able to do anything that matters. You know, if I play a Karn early, it influences the way that you have to play the game. You know, I start Karning and going up, which means you need to empty your hand. And then I also everything away, including my Karn, which is fine. And then eventually, you know, the cards that you're drawing, your Birds of Paradises of the world and other nonsense, they don't even line up close to what I'm drawing.
Orzhov Pontiff.
Yeah.
Kitchen Finks.
Yeah. So the goal here and what makes Tron such a great deck is that you're really just strong-arming your opponent.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes what you're doing as far as strong-arming them is concerned isn't good enough.
Yeah. But to me, what I agree with you. Some matchups are about the Worm Coil engine element of the deck, and some of them are about the Oblivion Stone element of the deck. This matchup, to me, feels like it's about the Oblivion Stone element of the deck.
Oblivion Stone was your best card in the matchup, even when Birthing Pod was in the deck. Now Collected Company is. Now that Ugin exists, that's your best card in the matchup. They can't beat Ugin. They can't beat Oblivion Stone. So that's what it's all about, is just getting to those particular cards. Karn gives you this nice safety valve of if they do gain infinite life, I'm not dead, I have outs.
Yep.
There is Anafenza and a passing of the turn. But you can even see how Thragtusk is lined up on this board currently. It just doesn't really do all that much. I mean, maybe he takes an attack for 5. You know, if JB were to play a Kitchen Finks, your Thragtusk can't attack.
Yep.
Yep, in for 5. It's going to be 25 to 15.
I don't know. If Ali follows this up with Worm Coil engine, I mean,
he can go beatdowns.
Again, that's, I'm sure, not the primary game plan here. And it has some synergy with the Oblivion Stone. You can set up where he Oblivion Stones and has a board left over and can finish up that way.
He can never at this point really play the Oblivion Stone naked because of the Kusali Pride Mage that's on the battlefield.
He has to do everything in one shot if he's going to go ahead and do it.
Which, fortunately for him, he's got plenty of mana to do so. Ali going to play a Chromatic Sphere. That'll use one of the colors mana from Power Plant. So he's got 1 mana floating, either a green or a red. Looks like he picked up a copy of Grove of the Burn Willows off of that. So mana not going to be an issue for Aintrazi this game. And one thing Aintrazi knows, because he has access to the deck list, is his lands aren't really ever going to get messed with.
Yep.
Which is really, really nice when you're a Tron player. You don't have to worry about nonsense like like Sowing Salt, Fulminator Mage, any of that stuff from JB's deck. There's the O-Stone with the mana left to activate it. So even if JB goes after it with Kusali Pride Mage, Ali can blow it up. Thragtusk will leave behind a Beast token.
And I think that Ali's going to take a position here of, I'm not even going to use Oblivion Stone on this board. If you add more to this board, we can talk about it, but there's no real rush. JB can do very little with what he has in play. He can't damage raise because Ali's hitting for 5 a turn against 4 and also has gained some life off the Thragtusk. So he's going to force his hand here a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's forcing his hand to kill the Oblivion Stone. Now, Ali doesn't even have to even activate the Oblivion Stone. You know, he can use it to say, I'll blow everything up. He can also just say, I'll put a fake counter on my Thragtusk for other Oblivion Stones down the road.
Fundamentally, I think in this matchup, Ali's about trade, and then draw something big.
Yeah.
I would not want to have JB keeping Anafenza here. And if that's the play you were going to make, I wouldn't have played the Oblivion Stone.
Yeah.
It feels like he's kind of committed to doing this now.
Beast token left over, passing of the turn. Milo will take a draw here. But a copy of Burrington Forge Tender. That, of course, to counteract Pyroclasm.
Very good insurance, though. If Ali's just going beatdowns with Worm Coil and Thragtusks, Burrington Forge Tender does very little.
Yeah. Verdant Catacombs to be sacrificed. Quick update for you guys. Chris O'Brien with Green Red Tron does win game number 2 over Richard Adams playing Merfolk. So they're all tied up as they head into game number 3.
How excited are you about a potential Tron mirror?
I'm actually horrified.
Is Tron mirror really bad?
It's horrible. It's truly terrible.
I love matches where someone just gets crushed.
That's exactly what happens every time.
Those are my favorite games. Someone just getting crushed.
You have Tron and Karn on turn 3. Cool, we're done here.
We're done.
There's a Forge Tender, Reclamation Sage, and a passing of the turn. And this is what we're talking about, where Tron is just trying to overpower you, because you see some of the nonsense that's in JB's deck. It's necessary nonsense.
These are some of his sideboard cards.
Yeah. These are things.
These are cards he's actively bringing in, and they don't really line up very well against the powerful stuff that LE can bring to the table.
Yep. You play a Reclamation Station, Burrington Force Tender. I play whatever this is about to be.
Oh boy, this is a lot of mana.
Yeah, I play these.
Whew.
So it's your turn. 2 Wormcoil Engines. Milo will take a draw here. He does have a copy of Court of Calling in hand. Picked up a nice Birds of Paradise for the draw. Again, what Tron is all about, and why these two players and O'Brien on Aintrazi were able to have a good tournament, is at the end of the day, Tron is a deck that says, hey, I can accelerate into Wormcoil Engine or Karn. Is that good against what you're doing? Against some decks, like this one, the answer is yes. Against a deck like Splinter Twin, the answer oftentimes is no.
And the issue is also about relevant disruption. That's part of the reason the Splinter Twin matchup is positive, is them tapping a Tron piece on the 3rd or 4th turn is a big deal for what you're trying to do with your development.
There's the Birds, passing of the turn. Court of Calling at the ready here for Milo. Aintrazi going to untap with that Beast token, 2 Wormcoil Engines. And he might draw some lands here, but at this position, he's doing quite well for himself.
I believe he's picked a Pyroclasm, so he has the option of doing this now, basically to get the Forge Tender off the table, or hope that at some point JP has a chump block with the Birds and Forge Tender, and then Pyroclasm shuts the door on anything else that's going on.
Here the attackers get them all in the red zone. 2 Wormcoil Engines and a Beast token. Milo's going to sacrifice that for Catacombs, get a land out of his deck, and we'll see if there's anything explosive that he can Court of Calling for in this situation. Cord would be for 4. And I suppose Restoration Angel is an option.
Yeah, it's not shabby to get a Restoration Angel. That allows him to block the Thrytus token and also phase out the Reclamation Sage, which allows him to break up one of the Wormcoil Engines. Yep. Just not bad.
It's going to be a Cord, looks like, for 3. So we'll see what 3 nets here.
Maybe Fiend Hunter?
That's not terrible, and there is a Fiend Hunter. Yeah, Fiend Hunter actually does okay in the situation of taking care of a Wormcoil Engine. So eat a Wormcoil. No real great blocks to be had outside. Actually, just no great blocks, period. I suppose Birds of Paradise could chump, and it's going to. 3 damage will come through.
To me, this is close to the Restoration Angel play in terms of overall quality.
Yeah.
The problem is that the Beast is still in play and nothing on JB's side of the board can block it profitably. But he actually has, for the time being at least, removed one of the Wormcoil Engines.
Grove of the Burn Willows is going to give Milo a life. We're going to see that Pyroclasm. This is basically to exchange with the Forge Tender.
Yeah. And I can respect Ali just saying, there's Court of Calling in this deck. I just prefer for something to die. Maybe you can get JB to chump block with the Forge Tender and then Pyroclasm everything away. That seems unlikely, so you might as well get something off the table.
Milo will draw a card. He's going to need some real help getting out of this one. He's only at 8, facing down a 6/6 life-linking Death Touch that if he kills, more creatures come along with it.
I mean, if he draws an Eternal Witness and can witness back the Cord, he can block for quite a bit of time. I don't know if that's necessarily path to get anywhere. Huge draw.
Yep. Gonna get the Cord. That was one of, if not the best draw in his deck. At least gives him a shot. Can Cord for 2 right now.
And cording for 2 might be a dead end, but he can chump block out of this turn.
Mm-hmm.
And then untapping Cord for a lot. Maybe he gets Restoration Angel. Restoration Angel, the Witness, get back the Cord, can hit the Reclamation Stage, kill the Wormcoil Engine. There's a lot of ways for JB to navigate this if he gets the next turn with a lot of creatures in play.
Yeah, some windows are still certainly open. You see Aintrazi is going to take a look at Quarter Calling, make sure he knows exactly how this card works. It is very powerful after all. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less and put it onto the battlefield. And with Convoke involved, we have seen this card be very, very good in Modern.
I do feel like JB's got to try to establish some sort of loop or some power play next turn with this chord. I don't think he can say, all right, I'll go get Voice of Resurgence so I can chump block a couple more turns. He needs to get something going because the game's slipping away from him.
Here are the attackers. Wurmcoil Engine and the Beast Token from Thragtusk.
The problem is that JB needs to chump block the Wurmcoil Engine. He can't take this whole hit. And it feels like all the creatures he has in play are valuable right now. The Fiend Hunter, if he chump blocks, well, now there's a second Wurmcoil Engine. And both Reclamation Sage and Eternal Witness are possibly things that he wants to use Restoration Angel with.
Looks like he might have a double block coming in. To go after that Beast Token, try to get that off of the table.
JB can also always try to shoot the moon, which I mean is chord for a combo piece, hope to draw a Collected Company, and get the rest of it. Because it's a 3-card set.
That's true. Maybe get a little lucky there.
Yeah, you always have that route if things are getting really desperate.
It might take getting lucky in this game to win.
Yeah.
So perhaps we do see Court of Calling get used here. We'll see. Some life is going to be gained from Aintrazi either way from his Wurmcoil Engine. Looks like damage is resolving at this point, so the creatures will bite the dust. Looks like they're just organizing damage here. And Ali will lose his Beast Token from Thragtusk. See if there's a follow-up here for Aintrazi. Gonna give Milo a life, it appears. Scrying's a big draw. It's just Demonic Tutor for Eye of Ugin.
Yep, this allows him to get Emrakul. He's got a boatload of mana to work with,
yep.
So.
There is Eye of Ugin. And Eye of Ugin is Demonic Tutor for Emrakul or Wurmcoil Engine.
I don't have an exact mana count here, but it looks like more than enough.
He has access to, at this point, he has exactly 15.
Yep.
2 towers through the Tron pieces. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Grove of the Rituals is 13, and Eye of Ugin counts as number 14 and 15 when it comes to Eldrazi. So assuming that Ali does have Emrakul in his deck still, and it is a potent weapon against these strategies, we could see the Flying Spaghetti Monster next turn.
I would have preferred, I think, for Ali to do that preemptively, as there is an Aven Mind Sensor in JB's deck, or in the sideboard rather.
Yep.
Reasonable, he could have brought it in, and I don't know what the value is of waiting.
Well, he's definitely bringing in Mind Sensor against Ali's deck, given the amount of searching that it does have, and Mind Sensor can gum up things a little bit. Now, I can definitely understand where you're coming from of just search for Eye right now, or search for Eye, search for Emrakul.
Yeah, if you're going to do it anyway,
yeah,
why wait?
Yeah.
You're playing against Aven Mind Sensor.
And if it gets Thought Seized, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That means you drew Thought Seize.
Right, run it back next turn.
Yeah.
Also, Ali still has a Wurmcoil Engine in play that's attacking for lethal, so it's not even like that's the only thing going on here.
Uh-oh, Fiend Hunter is feeling frisky. I like it.
Love it.
Yep.
Take one, you're on 36.
There's a Kitchen Finks.
Now I'm on 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big swing on the damage race that turn.
Yeah, here comes your Eye of Ugin activation. And no, he boarded out Emrakul. Wow.
Okay.
That's why you play on Never Concede.
Well, it's also, I guess, why Ali didn't preemptively search.
Sure.
Maybe he's hoping that JB just draws and concedes. And in matchups like this, it's not uncommon to see people board out the Emrakul. That's more of the package for control matchups, your source of inevitability. Be really nice to have here, of course, but I think Ali is just trying to win this kind of matchup with Karn and Oblivion Stone mostly, and Emrakul is not his primary game plan.
Aintrazi will take a draw here. Expedition map. Here comes the attack with Wormcoil Engine. Kitchen Finks is going to block immediately. It'll die, come back, persist. Up to 7 goes Milo. Aintrazi all the way up to 42. Another Wormcoil Engine on the way. He's going to start with a map. Looks like he may search up a Ghost Quarter here.
I don't mind getting a Ghost Quarter. There's only one swamp in JB's deck, so sure.
Cut him off a black.
Yeah, but I don't even know if black mana is significant to JB, but I suppose for Viscera Seer it's significant.
That's nice to do.
I mean, Ali's got to do whatever he can to keep JB from assembling the combo, because JB can only really chump block here for so long.
Milo with his Court of Calling will take a draw. Picked up a copy of Godless Shrine. Black mana not going to be an issue here.
I feel like we've had two pretty bizarre games to start things off here.
Bizarre-ish.
They're atypical.
Yeah.
Feels like both have had not the most explosive draws in both games.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with you. It is weird to call I mean, Ali had Tron on turn 3.
Right, but he didn't get Tron on turn 3 and then blow JB out of the water with it. He's had some Worm Coils, Thrad Tusks, and one Oblivion Stone, which didn't do a ton as his payoff cards.
Aintrazi will draw. Grove is going to give a life away. Now here's Ancient Stirrings. So maybe an Ugin or a Karn on the way. Ugin was the first card that he saw.
Yep.
I think it'll be the first card that he takes.
JB with an acknowledging nod there.
The Spirit Dragon is the end boss of this matchup for Aintrazi. And it is being cast right now. We'll see if it's going to go up or down. It's bad news either way. He decides how. Now he's just got to decide how he wants to use it.
Yeah, there's an argument here to minus for 4 because JB still has the chord in hand that Ali knows about. JB could potentially chord for Restoration Angel. Not that that matters too much, but I don't know what the extra loyalty on Ugin matters at the spot either.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter all that much. I think that going for exactly 4 because that's the most that he can chord for is what I would want to do in Ali's position.
It seems like there's very little harm.
Looks like he may start by attacking. Put Milo to the test as far as blockers are concerned.
I feel like Ali could have been a slightly more aggressive this turn and used the Ugin up front because he's working with perfect information here.
Here's a chord. The question you have to ask yourself, right, is if you're casting Ugin pre-combat, then why aren't you using Ugin pre-combat?
Yeah, now this is actually not great here for Ali, as now the Flicker Wisp here is corded for, and that mucks things up a little bit too.
Yep. Gonna Flicker Wisp away Kitchen Finks. Flicker Wisp will block Wormcoil Engine.
Still not a big deal for Ali here. You can use Lightning Bolt post-combat and finish it off.
Yeah. Wants to make sure he knows exactly how Flicker Wisp works. Don't oftentimes see that card in Modern, more of a legacy card. Now he's gonna Lightning Bolt the Fiend Hunter.
Assuming we have the life totals correct.
That's a little strange.
That is a bit curious.
Yeah. Milo going to go up to 4. Yeah, that's just a misplay there by Aintrazi.
Yeah.
There's a birds.
Yeah.
Pass the turn back. It'll be over in just a moment, but these slight missteps that Ali has made this game, they can certainly come back to hurt you overall over the course of the match.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to be a little more careful than this.
Relic Progenitus is going to take away everything.
Possibly Ali just wants to spin the ball on his finger a little bit here.
Perhaps.
With a position this commanding. But.
Yes. And now the Wormcoil engines are going to come in, and that is going to take care of that game. So Ali Aintrazi is going to win game number 2 here against JB Milo. Green, Red, Tron. Abzan Company will be heading to a 3rd game here in just a moment.
But we really haven't seen both of these decks fire on both cylinders just yet. Ali did have turn 3 Tron, but the game still went on for a very long time after that. And the game that JB won was sort of this curious beatdown game while Ali wasn't really doing anything. But I don't think we're going to see, 2 or 3 more games like that. I'd be surprised.
They have been strange ones.
Yeah.
We will very quickly talk about the Star City Games newsletter. It has been revamped for your reading and viewing pleasure. You can get the latest on the SCG Open Series. Watch the SCG Open Series Match of the Week right on the newsletter. Receive exclusive deck lists and advice by Chris Van Meter, Brian Braun-Duin, Ross Merriam, Jim Davis, and some of your favorite faces from Star City Games. You can catch up on all the event results as we update you guys on exactly what's taking place on the Open Series and the shifts in the leaderboard. And, of course, an exclusive cardboard crack comic. Best part, you can sign up for free, starcitygames.com/newsletter for more information about it.
It's a great way to distill all the content on the website. Everything is selected by Cedric, so the matches, the articles, they get his stamp of approval here, and the exclusive content's nice as well.
My smiling face on the newsletter, right at the top.
It's a good read. It comes in my inbox. Once a week. It takes me 5, 10, 15 minutes to go through an article or 2 that you recommend. And again, it's free. So, why not?
That's the key word there. It's free.
Operative, critical word. It is free.
Didn't see either player go back to the drawing board. They just both started shuffling immediately. So I don't expect much is going to change for them, given that they don't look to be changing anything.
The only card that we were certain would be coming in from Ali's side is the Relic of Progenitus, because it's low opportunity cost. JB's got a lot of graveyard synergies. It looks like the Thragtusk came in as well. They were not bad for Ali that game, but I think a lot of that was the function of JB's draw kind of sputtering and not really going anywhere. And I don't think Ali really sideboarded, so I think we're probably looking at the 3 cards. It's possible after a game like that, you second guess yourself a little bit and maybe bring the Emrakul back in.
Yeah, I definitely want the Emrakul in the deck. Again, I don't expect JB to be doing Infinite Life. If it comes up, he's certainly going to do it. He's not going to pass up on that opportunity. And the way that you actually go about eating Infinite Life in this deck, again, does involve Karn. But I've definitely been in situations myself where I've had to do something to the extent of you have Infinite Life, but you have this weird swath of permanents in play. And I haven't found an Oblivion Stone, so I search for Emrakul, annihilate 6 of your permanents, and literally just keep attacking you with Emrakul because you never get to build a board until I find my Karn. Right. And my Emrakul is defending my Karn, which is a very strange thing to say.
Good team.
Yeah, quite the tandem until I get the opportunity to restart the game. And most times I get to restart the game with an Emrakul.
Yeah, you and Ali are clearly taking different approaches to the matchup because you're advocating the removal of Wormcoil Engine as the card you would point to sideboard out, and he has not only kept those in, but brought in Thragtusk as well. I am more in your camp on this. I like Ali being a pure control disruptive deck and not trying to do anything in the middle. Just contain the board and overpower JB.
I just prefer in this type of matchup to take a more leisurely approach of, you don't get to kill me, and then I get to kill you eventually.
Right. So I don't mind having the 1 Emrakul in the deck because it feels like if you're in the pure control route, like Ali was in the second game, eventually the 1 Emrakul is a nice thing to have.
I think it would have taken a certain set of draws there for JB to win that game, given that he was up against the wall with the Wormcoil engines coming after him. But, if it could have happened.
Yeah, for sure. That game,
there's something that could have happened.
JB sort of spun his tires the whole game and never got anything going, but he was not that far away from assembling a kill. The deck works off an awfully low base.
Birds of Paradise with a little flourish there from JB. We'll start game number 3. And Urza's Power Plant and Expedition map. You can see the Urza's Tower in hand here for Aintrazi. So Tron can be online as soon as turn 3 as Milo's going to sacrifice for Catacombs. And we'll see what he has on his second turn. Quick update for you guys. Richard Adams, our Merfolk player. He's up 2-1 right now over Christopher O'Brien playing Tron. Again, if we have time to jump that way, we certainly will. Temple Garden, the weapon of choice here for Milo. He's down to 17. A card like Reclamation Sage here is really big. It's going to be the bigger Anafenza. Get a clock going.
This is out of the sideboard as well.
Yep. It's out of Pyroclasm range. So this is a nice threat to have.
I'm a little surprised to see this brought in. I thought this was for more explicit, decks like Living End, for example, that are really about putting stuff in the graveyard. I suppose JB is just in the market for stuff that can survive Pyroclasm.
Yeah, he's just in the market for beatdowns. Not sacrificing that map is very risky right now.
Yeah, that Aven Mind Sensor.
Yeah.
Ooh, bird's the word. Love it.
Get that thing a counter. There's a Rage of Urge Thicket. The Voice of Resurgence of Birds of Paradise and the passing of the turn. Aintrazi is going to get to sacrifice the map.
So this is a draw on JB's side that's pretty insulated from Pyroclasm. He has Voice of Resurgence alongside Anafenza. What it is really vulnerable to is the board sweepers.
Yep.
There's not a lot of protection here. So Oblivion Stone, Ugin, even Karn would be really potent on this board.
Karn's fine on this board. Karn is basically a removal spell and a time walk on this board. You probably exile Anafenza, the Bird of Paradise, and the Voice of Resurgence probably finish off Karn, but that's fine.
Or you can actually start going after JB's hand and try to go ultimate as well, because, Ali's got some life points to play with. There are a lot of good routes here if he has one of his big plays.
There's the mine. Tron is online. Karn is in hand. Ali taking a look at Anafenza. Generally pretty textless in the matchup. Just a beater.
Look at that Birds of Paradise with the counter on it. My friend.
Helping out old Birdie.
Oh, yeah.
There's 7 mana. There is Karn. It'll start on 6. We'll see if it moves down to 3 or up to 10. It's going to go down to 3. And Anafenza will bite the dust. And again, I think that this is a perfectly fine use of Karn. You're just playing the control role.
Yep. It makes me a little sad to trade Karns for Anafenza and some life points, essentially. But if Ali's got a lot of power in his hand, he can afford to make those kind of exchanges.
Just want to play more turns.
Yeah. If Karn's his only payoff, he might have to do a little more squeezing of value out of it. But if he's got a follow-up, especially if he's got another Karn, he can throw it away like this.
Yep. It's, in this situation, basically a removal spell and a time walk. And then if JB decides he wants to add to his board, then he runs the risk of getting annihilated by a card like Oblivion Stone.
Yep.
Now, Academy Township isn't bad.
If your turn's getting swallowed up anyway, this allows him to deal some amount of damage, finish off the Karn, and not add to his board in the face of Ugin or Oblivion Stone next turn. So, very solid turn for JB.
Aintrazi will take a draw. Looks like he picked up another copy of Karn. He can add to his lands a little bit here because he has a Chromatic Star and a Chromatic Sphere in hand. So in this situation, as he does deploy the Karn, he could basically free roll Nurse's Tower there.
Yeah.
You use the tower for 3 mana, you play a star, that's 2 mana left. You sacrifice the star for green, cast Scrying, get a tower, play the tower, you still have 7 mana.
Yeah, it's net even.
Yeah, so you're net even and have an additional mana in play, which he kind of needs right now, actually.
Yeah, he's a little bottlenecked. It's funny to say on someone with 7 mana in play, but he would like to get into 2 spells a turn kind of territory. And he doesn't have the mana right now for Ugin.
Or O-Stone.
Or Oblivion Stone to
plus
activate
yep.
in the same turn. So another Tron piece would be very nice on Ali's side of the table.
JB picked up a copy of Windswept Teeth to go along with the Viscera Seer in hand. And looks like he has a copy of Collected Company over there, too. An easy place to start is to take care of the old Planeswalker, so that's what he's going to do with the Birds of Paradise. Windswept Teeth will be sacrificed. See what land JB wants to search up. Go with an Overgrown Tomb untapped. Life total for him does not matter a ton in this matchup.
No, especially if Ali's on some sort of kind of overpower you strategy. In the Wormcoil Thraktusk kind of game, sure, but it's not. It doesn't look like it's shaping up to be that kind of thing.
Oh, excuse me, it was a Noble Hierarch, not a Collected Company, and then a Viscera Seer. He's empty-handed, and he's crossing his fingers. Aintrazi over there with his 7 mana. He'll take a draw. Thragtusk is what he's found. Start with a Sphere. Sacrifice that, I imagine, for green mana. So 1 green mana floating at this point. He'll draw a card. Picked up a copy of Urza's Mine.
Sometimes I have these moments of, well, how are you supposed to tell which one's the mine, which one's the tower, and which one's the power plant? But actually, the art's pretty helpful. The mine looks like a mine, and the tower looks like a tower.
Well, the tower is the easy one.
Yeah.
Sometimes the mine, sometimes the power plant, you second guess yourself a little bit.
Oh, for me, mine and tower is actually where I get confused.
Really? Okay.
Because that mine in play kind of, I mean, it doesn't not look like a tower. You know what I mean? But the art is pretty instructive.
I think we have a Thragtusk on the way. We do. Aintrazi is going to go up to 18 here.
But this is not the end of the road for JB attacking. He's got Gavity Township plus the birds.
Yeah. Aintrazi with a Relic of Progenitus and a Chromatic Star in hand. We have our first victor this morning. It is Richard Adams with Merfolk, taking down Green-Red Tron, 3-1. Our #1 overall seed, Christopher O'Brien, his tournament is over, and Adams is victorious, so congratulations to him.
Would have been nice to see those games. I'm curious how much spreading he's played a role.
Me too.
3-1 is that's a pretty decisive victory.
Especially when you're the #8 seed on the draw.
Yeah.
There's a Sylvan Scrying. See what land Aintrazi wants to search up here. Also has a copy of Expedition Map. I kind of like just getting Grove of the Burn Willows, just so that green mana is no longer a problem. Not to say that it really is, but you know, being able to play that if he draws Pyroclasm, not having to search for it the next turn, I like that a lot.
If he's out of stars and spheres and so forth, Grove is a nice land to be able to go get. Just make sure that all of your Ancient Stirring, Pyroclasm type draws are all good. Thragtusks, what have you.
We're heading back Milo's way in just a moment here. Milo will take a draw. You can get a great look at the card. But you can see what's on the table. Gavity Township, a bunch of creatures. There's a Thoughtseize. So another Thragtusk, an Ancient Stirrings, an Expedition Map, a Relic of Progenitus, and that Grove of the Burn Willows.
So a pretty redundant hand, and part of the weakness of Thoughtseize in the matchup from JB's side is Ali's hand's going to look like this a good percentage of time, where there's not really a hole to punch through. He can take the Thragtusk, although that, to me, is almost the softest card in the hand, because Ali is playing towards a big play at this point. And all the cantrips, all the things that find lands, they seem more important to me.
Yeah. He's going to take the Thragtusk, maybe with the hope that Ancient Stirrings just doesn't find anything. There's a Township activation. Maybe some air beatdowns. And for 5, undo the work that Thragtusk did. The draw is a Karn. Ali will give a life away from the Grove. We'll see a Stirrings here. And a card like Oblivion Stone or Ugin here.
Yeah, those are the real prizes.
He didn't find it, though. And this was the hope if you're a JB, is hoping that he bricks on the stirrings. Which Aintrazi basically did.
Well, Expedition map into Eye of Ugin can still potentially be a route, assuming the Emrakul is in the deck.
Yep.
If not, Wormcoil Engine's not going to get Ali out of this bind.
Well, given how we saw Ali's sideboard, leads me to believe that Emrakul is not in the deck.
Yep.
It wasn't in the deck in the last game, and he went to shuffling right away for this game. Took the yours is mine there. Here comes Karn. He'll take down the big bird of paradise. Milo's going to sacrifice that to Viscerus here, get a little scry going. Looks like he's going to leave that card on top. Yeah, so one of those mines. Ali hasn't played a land yet this turn.
Yep.
Yeah, mine should be in hand from Ancient Stirrings. You see the players clearing that up right now.
Yeah, I think there was a little confusing because it's on the table and
Yep.
it's not super clear what was going on with it, but
Looks like it'll be a Relic of Progenitus. Remember, Aintrazi this turn played Grove of the Burn Willows.
ah, yes.
Grove into Stirrings, into Karn. Into Relic, into Pass. Let's find out what Milo kept on top of his deck.
Ali has gotten not a lot out of these Karns. I think this is the third one of the match, and they've all just killed a creature and died.
They've all played the role of a removal spell, which again is perfectly fine because all he's trying to do is buy time to Oblivion Stone or Ugin.
Yeah. I mean, at this stage, that's what he kind of has to do because his life total is becoming taxed.
Yep. There's mine going to tap for 2 colorless, perhaps. So a star will use 1 colorless. Now there will be a mana floating. It looks like it's going to be a green, which will allow Aintrazi to draw a card. There is a sphere. He'll use colorless mana for that. So now currently a colorless and a green floating. He'll use that colorless, perhaps for a red, perhaps for a green. Either way, there'll be 2 colored mana floating. The easiest way to think of this is 4 mana has been tapped with the 2 Ursus pieces. Each chromatic effect costs 1 mana.
Yep.
So he's played 2 of those. That means there's 2 mana left over at this point.
He's got 2 floating one way or the other.
Yep.
It's just he would rather keep the colored mana in his mana pool rather than the colorless.
Now there's 1 mana floating after casting an Ancient Stirrings. Milo has paused him in response to the Stirrings. And he says that's fine. So Aintrazi will take a look at the top 5. Eye of Ugin among those cards. Looks like he may be selecting the Eye here.
Yeah, and Eye seems so powerful right now if the Emrakul is in the deck that if there's any hesitation, I think it's because this is only gets him to Wormcoil Engine.
Mm-hmm.
Now he has still some mana floating here, so
He has a single mana floating. Hasn't played a land yet for the turn. He'll activate Relic. Relic will take care of a land. Now he's going to bust Relic. Mostly just a cycle. Pick up another chromatic piece in Sphere. And he does not have a mana floating anymore.
it's kind of a nice feature of this deck that yes, there's only so many high impact cards, but a lot of your cards cycle.
That's the thing I actually like about the deck. I mean, realistically, you're kind of playing what feels to be, I'd say, like a 46 card deck.
I know you and I have played some pickup matches on Magic Online where, you know, the storm count has gone up on your screen
Oh, yeah.
in the feed because you're just cycling these stars and so on. relics and just burning through the deck, looking for your high impact cards.
Gonna take a look here. And just pass the turn back. Here's a Quarter Calling. In response to what looks to be an eye activation, there's the Mind Sensor.
Yep. And I think that's why you saw JB pause initially on that Ancient Stirrings.
Yep, he was thinking maybe he could Mind Sensor that,
Yeah.
but it's look at the top 5.
Hi, you Future Sight weirdo. Bizarre design.
Yeah, it's very, very strange.
I mean, it's actually cool that it exists because it kind of it punishes the things that you want to punish without removing all the variance from it. Like sometimes you can still find what you're looking for through a Mind Sensor, but that's an odd duck.
the whiff.
Not only is it a whiff, but I think he's looking at a couple of cards he would have liked there.
Yeah, Karn and O-Stone were in there.
Yeah. And that's also significant for JB because look at Ali's life total. There's now another flyer in play, plus the township. This is a real clock. I mean, Ali's under a lot of pressure to find. It's not even clear that Worm Coil necessarily gets it done at this point because JB has Viscerus here. He can be chump blocking a little bit.
Chump blocking, sacking, preventing
Yeah.
lifelink.
Exactly. And the clock in the air is significant. Even the last Karn may not answer because now there's 2 flyers. Ali really needs to get into Oblivion Stone pronto.
Well, there's just a land. Nothing exciting there, but a township activation gives JB something to do with his mana. Beatdowns in the air will be for 6.
This is lethal next turn.
Yes, it is.
This is this is going to be lethal next
It'll be
turn.
lethal next turn.
Yeah, this is going to be 8 next turn with Ali falling to 7.
Ali's going to need a huge draw here. Sylvan Scrying is not a huge draw. Now, he does get the cycle with the Sphere effect. So there's Sphere with the mana floating. He'll sacrifice that, mana floating. Likely for a green as Pyroclasm's no good now. So maybe he backdoors his way into an Ancient Stirrings for some help. Take a draw. It's going to need to be a gooder. That's a gooder.
Certainly gives him some looks at it.
5 more shots at an Ugin or an O-Stone. 3, 4, 5.
Found it.
Spirit Dragons here. Big time top deck.
And that's why I like Ali positioning himself for power as much as in this matchup. And why I'm still skeptical of this Thrytusk Worm Coil engine thing is those life gain board control events have been kind of nonsense this game.
Yep.
Thrytusk has done very, very little. And Worm Coil would not have been helpful either. Past a certain point. If he had it on turn 3, it would have been fine, probably.
This will be 9 mana, I believe, for Ugin. Ugin's going to want to ice that board. Milo's going to sacrifice his Windswept Teeth. Get a land out of his deck, and then some scrying will begin here with the Viscerus here, you have to imagine.
But JB is drawing pretty slim at this point. I feel like his route, and this doesn't even work because the clock is too fast, because next turn he's looking at lethal between another Thrytusk attack and Ugin lightning bolting him. Is Collected Company, and he has to shoot the moon again. He needs the nuts.
Fiend Hunter X,
Right.
most likely.
But I don't even know if that works anymore because the Ugin will wipe up his follow-up.
That's true.
Or kill him next turn.
That's true.
It's very hard for him to avoid it.
Scry number 1. This gives JB quite a few chances at Collected Company, which is probably the best card he can find right now. That's going to put the top card to the bottom. Sacrifice Noble Hierarch, scry number 2. Top card to the bottom. Time to sacrifice an even Mind Sensor. It's scry number 3. That one he's going to think about a little bit. Maybe this is an Eternal Witness, is why which is perhaps the reason he's looking at the graveyard.
And I think that even Eternal Witness is obviously a very powerful Magic card. I don't think it gets JB out of that spot.
I don't think so
I think
either.
he needs to basically collect a company into Eternal Witness X inside of combat, get through the Ugin, and do it again the next turn, hit something awesome, and then maybe combo out.
Yep.
It's very, very low odds. He's not on a 0%er here, but I think that's what he has to play for. Eternal Witness, get back something, and block next turn. Like, that's not going to cut it at this point.
With a mana floating, and then a green mana here off of the over the burn will, Sylvan Scrying will resolve. Or his tower will be the weapon of choice. And now here comes Thragtusk for 5. Milo's going to go down to 8. It's got to be a collected company here for JB. He'll pass the turn back.
He also, if he draws it, has to kind of play it inside of combat. Because if he does it right now, Ugin will take care of everything that he gets. He needs to kind of chump block inside of combat, then get Ugin to be used after the fact, and then probably collect a company again.
Aintrazi will draw. It's an Oblivion Stone. Great card in this matchup, but he doesn't need it now. He's already cleared away the board. There's a tower. In for 5. Milo's going to go down to 3. Now, last game, Aintrazi did not use Ugin to go upstairs. This game, he will. So, Aintrazi is going to win game number 2 here against JB Milo. Green-Red Tron up 2-1 over Abzan Company.
I still feel like Ali should have the Emrakul in the deck and should be messing around a little bit less with these creatures. He needs to position himself as just a raw power, lock you out of the game sort of deck.
Looks like both players may be going back to the drawing board now. You see Ali taking a look at the deck list. JB looks happy enough with this configuration. We'll see if he wants to change anything as he's already begun shuffling. We'll very quickly talk about the Star City Games YouTube page, where you can find the replays of this Season 2 Invitational and a whole bunch more.
Yeah, everything's archived there, all the Open Series and Invitationals from years past, Versus Series content, and then there's some stuff that's exclusive to the YouTube page, like the unboxing series. You can head over to youtube.com/StarCityGames, become a subscriber today, get all the updates, get notified when stuff gets added to the YouTube page, and again, it is free to subscribe.
Using that free word a lot this morning.
Yeah,
just giving away stuff.
It's all there. It's all free.
Why wouldn't you want it?
Even the premium archives, I think a lot of people are under the impression that that stuff just stays firewalled forever behind the paywall. That's not the case. After 30 days, it's all available. You can go ahead and check out stuff from people like Brian Kibler and Patrick Chapin. All your favorite writers.
If you are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, along with Matthias Hunt, for our Season 2 Invitational here at the Origins Game Fair. Richard Adams is through, number 8 overall seed. His Merfolk deck kind of taking this tournament by storm. He beat Christopher O'Brien playing Tron. And he'll be playing the winner of this match between Ali Aintrazi and JB Milo. Adams, very impressive win there, especially being on the draw. Felt like it would be a tough matchup for him, but able to sneak by the Tron deck. On the other side of things, you see, we'll have that for you guys in just a bit. Chris Van Meter, Tarek Patel, they're playing Amulet Bloom. That should be a real doozy of a mirror match.
I imagine that's going to be the backup feature match.
That
right?
is going to be the backup feature match.
Okay.
We'll be watching Josh Rabbits play Shund against Kyle Bakamis and Grixis Twin. Either way, we're going to get Amulet Bloom into the semifinals, where we'll have some time to watch that deck do its thing. The question, of course, is for how much longer? Grand Prix Charlotte coming up around the corner. And I know with the results of this particular tournament and how well Amulet Bloom performed, and perhaps how well it performed next weekend, don't know how much longer we might be seeing a card like Summer Bloom be legal.
There's a lot of cards you can attack out of that deck potentially. You know, Amulet and Summer Bloom are the 2 cards in that deck you would point to and say, well, no one's really ever doing anything fair with this stuff. If it's in decks, it's for degenerate purposes. I don't know. It is the metrics for the ban list can be a little odd sometimes. Cards like Birthing Pot have been dominant for years and have had combo elements to them and not really touched. There's been some other times where cards that weren't clear offenders or decks that weren't clear offenders have had content removed. So it's hard to predict, but I do think that if I had to bet on it, I would guess that Amulet Bloom is not long for this world.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
If I was a gambling man, if I was a gambling man.
If you were.
If I was.
Which you're not.
Which I'm not.
No.
But if I was, that's how I would bet.
Again, you're not.
Again, I am not.
But if you were.
But. And I am.
JB will take a look at his opening hand. We'll see if he can find 7 cards he's happy with. Aintrazi will do the same. We'll be underway here for game number 4 in just a moment. Windswept Teeth is how he will start things off. We'll see if it'll be 19 or 17 here for Milo. And it'll be 17. Preps a little birdie. Indeed. Pass the turn back over to Aintrazi. We'll see what he can put together on his first turn of the game.
And JB with Collected Company in hand. We're 4 games in and we have not seen a cast yet. Really the hallmark card of the deck.
Yeah.
And we've been 3 games deep with no appearances.
Grove of the Burnwillows to start things off here. Looks like maybe an Ancient Stirrings.
So this expedites the process of casting the Ancient Stirrings. You don't have to wait a turn. But it does mean that he's giving up on turn 3 Tron.
By starting with the Grove, that's exactly what you're doing. So starting with Stirrings is always a little risky.
It's possible that Ollie's perspective is I'm casting Pyroclasm on turn 2 almost no matter what, because JB has opened up on Birds of Paradise. And at that point, he may want to just Stirrings this turn, Pyroclasm next turn, give up on turn 3 Tron, but make it a little bit easier to cast the 2 spells on time.
There's a Kitchen Finks. Pass that turn back over to Aintrazi. There's a Tower of Power.
And I imagine we're just seeing the Pyroclasm here.
Yeah, even though it's only going to kill 1 creature and shrink the Kitchen Finks, again, you're just looking to take the control role here.
Yep.
Slow them down.
And, you know, if you're going to kill 1 creature, Birds of Paradise is not a bad one to get.
It's a good one to kill. Milo's going to go back to 20 from the Persist trigger. Milo will take a draw. Thought Seize. Black mana not going to be a problem thanks to that Verdant Catacombs. And there's a basic Swamp.
Yeah, the fetching in this matchup is a little interesting to me because JB, of course, you don't want to take 2 damage if you don't have to, but I would also prefer to leave the basics in my deck because you're playing against Ghost Quarter.
Sure.
So I don't know where the balancing act there is. You know, it's hard to imagine, you know, do I need the 3rd basic in my deck or whatever, but I'd be worried about getting cut off with black mana potentially.
A Thought Seize, or excuse me, a Thrag Tusk, a Karn, a Chromatic Star, well, the Ghost Quarter, Grove of the Burnwillows, and an Urza's Mine. So 1 Urza piece away from having the Tron. And currently no way to search and find it. No Expedition Map, no Sylvan Scrying.
But a cantrip in hand, he does have a redraw.
There goes old Thragtusk. I think we'll have some beatdowns here from Kitchen Finks. Aintrazi going to go down to 18. See if Milo has anything else to do. We'll just pass the turn back over to Aintrazi. Thragtusk the draw. There's a star. Play the mine, sacrifice this, likely for a green. Can backdoor into Stirrings. Expedition map.
Probably would not cast Pyroclasm if you drew it.
Yep.
So go ahead and make green mana.
Another star. pass the turn back. Milo draws. Play a Marsh Flash, that's line number 4. He's going to attack for 2. Aintrazi down to 16. Collected Company at the ready. Finally. Tower of Power. But there's not a power plant. Ali will sacrifice the star. Would prefer that off the Grove in that instance, because if he does peel off the power plant, he's cut himself away from 7 mana.
Yep. Unless he would want to cast Thragtusk that turn. Which maybe he would prefer to do. So
there's a sphere. See if he wants to cast the sphere or not. Or excuse me, break the sphere. And it looks like he will. There's a Karn. Here's another tower.
His hand's gotten pretty ugly. I mean, he's dead end on cantrips and search effects.
Yep, I mean, does have the ability to cast Thragtusk next turn, but we got a Collected Company coming this turn.
Yep. I was a little surprised when JB initially took the Thragtusk over the Karn, because by the time that one could cast Thragtusk, one you would assume would also be able to cast Karn because it's predicated on having Tron.
Yeah, given the deck.
Right, but actually this might be one of those exceptions, because Ali just might make his 5th land drop not have Tron, and Thragtusk would be pretty powerful.
Collected Company finally from JB's deck. This is what this deck is all about. It took until the 4th game for him to finally cast one.
I'm assuming he's missing on this one. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Wall of Roots, kind of a miss. Kitchen Finks, Godless Shrine, Noble Hierarch, and a Verdant Catacombs.
Not the best, but whatever. It's more mana and more pressure.
I've seen worse.
It wasn't one of the crazy ones, but it'll do.
I like taking Wall of Roots a lot here because he does have Court of Calling in his deck. Just a lot higher upside there.
Playing against Pyroclasm too.
Yeah. Milo draw a card. Copy of Aven Mind Sensor.
That's a really nice one to draw.
Yes, it is.
A lot of, the Expedition map draws here, they get a lot worse.
Aintrazi picks up a card. It's a copy of Relic of Progenitus. And play a Grove. Now it's time for a Thragtusk. And go up to 16. This will slow Milo down a little bit here.
But I believe JB with Path to Exile in hand.
Yep. It looks like maybe another copy of Collected Company. Okay.
Got a little something going.
Maybe. Forge Tender, Noble Hierarch, Kataki.
Just a real motley crew over there.
It's a real crackerjack.
Yeah. It's not bad for JB to get a Forge Tender here.
Forge Tender's fine.
Pyroclasm is reasonable against him in this spot.
Yes.
Kataki has moments of being really sweet against Tron. They open up on an Expedition map when they're on the draw and you have turn 2 Kataki.
Things get a little awkward.
Yeah, but this is not the ideal spot.
Now, that was a good draw. That's a Court of Calling.
If JB doesn't want to, he doesn't have to use the path now. I mean, he could chord for Fiend Hunter.
Yeah, it'll leave the 3/3 beast behind. I kind of like, if I'm JB in this spot, of just saying attack with my Kitchen Finks. That's a 3/2. And then if Ali blocks, cool. I get my Finks back. And then if Ali doesn't, that's cool too.
What about sending in everything, sending in enough that allows you to chord for Restoration Angel out the thing that gets blocked, and passing?
It's probably okay too. Looks like Ali's going to block the 2/1 Kitchen Finks. We got a chord coming. like it might be for 2 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wants to be able to leave up Aven Mind Sensor, which is completely understandable.
Yep.
And so right now, Wall of Roots, so you see the Convoking?
Yeah.
He didn't have enough green mana, is the issue.
Right, because you need triple green here, and the white creatures can't contribute to that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, his green mana should be okay.
He has it, he just might need to tap differently.
Yeah. But it looks like he has to tap differently and not be able to leave up Mind Sensor now.
Well, if he leaves up 2 lands, he has access to Wall of Roots next turn also.
Sure,
so,
and that's
he's
fine.
okay.
And it's going to be for 2 to go grab Anafenza, Kintree Spirit. So whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, bolster 1.
Another cog in the machine here.
Yep.
Another way to assemble the combo.
I'm trying to see how that affects things right now by searching for it mid-combat. And I don't think that it does.
Yep.
So just a passing in the turn. Strange chord there. Pyroclasm in the draw. That's covered by the Forge Tender.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a function of wanting to leave up a different amount of mana to leave up the Mind Sensor or what have you. But that chord felt like it could have gotten something pretty potent there.
Yeah, maybe JB thought that Anafenza counted itself when it comes in at bolsters.
Yeah. And now the Thragtusk is actually doing some real work. You know, JB can't attack at this point profitably.
Ghost Quarters lands 6. Relic Progenitus will be deployed now. That one good against quite a few things in Milo's deck. Not the end-all, be-all.
Yeah, and if Ali played his land first and then the Relic, to me it signals he has no interest in cycling this Relic right now. He's not trying to assemble the Tron this turn. He wants to sit on Relic to break up some synergies, and then most likely between his draw step and cycling the Relic next turn, he can get to Karn and start doing some real work. Because with Ali's defenses up, with JB not really in a position to attack very effectively, Karn can start going up.
Yep.
And that's really, really threatening to JB.
Thragtusk defending the Karn. And JB will draw.
It's like JB wants to go to the skies here. Got to bolster.
Reclamation Sage. Going to use that right now. Going to go after Relic of Progenitus. This will just cause Ali to sacrifice that and get a new card. Not get a good look at it. Yeah, I want to jam with some creatures here.
Looks like JB agrees.
In this spot, I almost like jamming with everyone, and then whatever Ali blocks, you just path this Thragtusk, so the damage isn't dealt. If he does that, because right now, all I want to do is get him on a 2-turn clock. This still might be accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, he can path the token next turn, and it looks like he's trucking across for quite a bit.
Tower the draw. Aintrazi at 10. Milo at 19.
Got to sort out those Tron pieces. Can't have them all over the place like that. Got to sort those out. Got to.
Well, what I can tell you is that Tron is not there.
The towers go together, the mines go together. It's like real life. You put the power plants together, they're not all over the place, they're all in one spot. Whenever I've watched you play this deck and paper a couple times, Grand Prix Detroit, and just kind of hanging out. Your Tron pieces, impeccably sorted.
I'm OCD. I sort a ton of things like that. Did you know that when I had a collection or when I have cards in front of me, I sort them alphabetically by casting cost?
Totally reasonable.
By color, alphabetically, by casting cost. That's just a thing for me. It's really weird. Here's an Ancient Stirrings.
We're on.
Power plant has been found. Already have a mine and a couple towers. That could be the winner chicken dinner.
Assemble Tron.
Yeah.
Now the question is if Ollie has a payoff good enough. You know, Ugin, Oblivion Stone, these are, you know, again, those cards are great here. His secondary artifacts like Worm Coil Engine, Karn, they're okay, but they're not awesome.
Yeah.
Open players prepares for round 13 going on.
There's power plant. I think we have some carnage on the way.
Good pun. Maximum Carnage.
Yeah,
with a K.
yeah. Thank you.
For those of you, you know.
Yep.
Those of you at home, not for you, Seth.
And he's gone.
So much carnage.
And
This is the game stops.
And he's gone. Just out of here.
Boop, boop.
Preparing JB with his arms crossed,
Well,
head
it's so
down.
bad. It's so bad to assemble Tron. This is the one thing JB is hoping to avoid, right?
Yeah.
Ollie's been stumbling with his mana a little bit. He hasn't really done anything. Who knows what he unleashes if he assembles Tron? He is able to do it and then leaves the table. He's going to make you just sit there for a little while, think about what could be coming.
Yep. I could have one of many a thing right now to destroy you with all this mana.
Yeah. But, you know, it's not necessarily the end of the world for JB. Again, the sweepers are bad for him right now, possibly unbeatable. But Karn, Worm Coil Engine, JB might be able to work his way through it.
We'll see. Ali has returned to inflict maximum carnage. It's down to 3. We'll see what he targets. I have a feeling it might be old Forged Tender, so it can unlock his Pyroclasm.
That feels like a medium amount of carnage to me.
Yeah. This Pyroclasm is quite good.
Kills a lot.
JB gonna go up to 21. There's Pyroclasm. Wall of Roots added a green mana there. There'll be a persist trigger.
Open players pairings are posted. Please find your way to your table.
But even this position for Ali is challenging for JB to punch through.
Now it is.
Even if he paths the beast token, JB is still unable to kill Karn because Kitchen Finks is only 2 power. And then Karn starts growing, way outpacing the Kitchen Finks.
Yeah. I think if you're JB in this spot and pathing that token kind of stinks because you'd rather just path the Worm Coil Engine, I think you have to path that token and hope to peel. And he has to do it now because if he peels Township, he needs to have the mana to be able to use it.
Right.
But there are some cards that he can peel to take care of that Worm Coil Engine, like Township and Noble Hierarch.
Yes.
So there are some draws available, and it's important now, given the situation, that he gets that Karn off the table.
Kasali Pride Mage as well.
That'll also work.
Would be fine. He's got some draws to get Karn off the table, and he needs to give himself as many shots as possible. This also allows him to draw and cast Collected Company and be able to do something with the results right away.
Yep. Now, I'm not excited about this being the situation, but even a Court of Calling for 1 for Noble Hierarch can get the job done. But whatever it takes to get Karn liberated off of this table, I think you got to do if he's able to draw something that can do it.
But JB, I mean, he can sense that he's in a lot of trouble right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because Ali's at 10. Ooh, we're going beatdowns.
Well, if you can't kill Karn,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Then there's not even anything to be done about it.
Not even anything to be done. A Viscera Seer and a passing of the turn. Aintrazi will draw. Copy of Sylvan Scrying. That'll search. Probably Eye of Ugin on the way. There it is.
Yep. Even in this spot, chaining together Worm Coils is pretty powerful.
Yep.
Emerald Coil would be the lock, and he has the cushion to do it. But even if that's not available to him, Worm Coil engines are very good here.
Aintrazi actually has another Karn in hand, so life is pretty good here for the green-red Tron player. It was all about just unlocking that mana to get himself out of that hairy situation. See how he wants to use Karn this turn.
Got to sort those Tron pieces.
Nope.
Ali looks like he's close to moving on to the semifinals here. Game 4 looking really good.
You have to teach him about mana management.
A little bit.
Karn goes after Viscera Seer. Viscera Seer will sacrifice in response for a little scry action.
Minimum carnage.
Yeah. back to maximum carnage. Yeah. I want to kill that Kitchen Finks right now. Just get that out of my table. JB is in the rock and a hard place now.
Really good to just leave the Court of Calling deck with nothing, no creatures in play. Don't let him get any synergies going.
Yeah, now it's on him to peel Collected Company. Because everything else he draws is just one card.
Right.
So if it's, Kitchen Finks, okay, kill it. If it's, not, then up it.
It's even hard to do things profitable with, let's say, Eternal Witness.
Yeah.
Because Ali can just plus the Karn.
Yep. There's a Thoughtseize. Urza's Tower is the card in hand. Pass the turn back. I think we're in store for some maximum carnage now.
Well, this is no carnage. There's no hand. But
it's maximum carnage. We're going to get an Eye of Ugin activation right now. Along with Worm Coil Engine. Can activate and play right away. Pass that turn back. Now this is the Tron I know and love.
There we go. Only took to turn 12. Most decks could have just been casting Worm Coil Engine and Karn naturally by now. But whatever. It's still cool. Not trying to rain on your parade. Nice.
Hey, birds and a confident passing of the turn by JB.
Firing back.
Yeah. So's Ali.
Yeah.
I'll take care of that, birds. Clear the way for the Worm Coil Engine. And now another Worm Coil Engine.
Keep them coming.
Yep. It's a steady stream. Pass that turn back over to Milo. Not sure if there's a draw in the deck for JB anymore, given this situation.
Yeah, this does not seem great. I mean, there is basically he has to draw Collected Company, and then Collected Company into the nuts, and then draw,
I'm not sure what the proverbial nuts is right now.
Well,
it's not Gaffney Township.
You could Collected Company into Viscera Seer plus other piece, draw red cap.
Okay.
All right. I mean, it's still not a 0%.
That's actually true.
Even
that's
on that
actually
last turn,
true.
still not a 0%er. Now he's dead.
Yeah.
Now there's no getting out.
Yeah. Now he is dead as can be. Karn will tick up. I think another Worm Coil on the way. Yep. Boom.
If I'm Ali, I'm looking to start this game over.
Oh, we're gonna put him in that lock. Yeah.
Just start it over. I won 4 games to 1.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. No attacks, just tick up Karn. You're a cruel man. You're a cruel man.
I guess because it's theoretically possible for JB to still win if nothing happens. You might as well kill him.
You think so? Maybe you should finish the game.
I don't know. Ali did some spinning of the ball on his finger a little bit. I felt in one of the games he won. So who knows?
Voice of Resurgence is no longer with us. and just an attack with one Warm Coil Engine. We'll take care of it here for Aintrazi. He wins this match here over JB Milo, 3-1. Green Red Tron's moving on. We'll be playing against Richard Adams in the semifinals an hour or so from now. So congratulations to both players. JB Milo for a great tournament, but Aintrazi for moving on with Tron, and we'll see if he can get by Merfolk or if Richard Adams can do it again.
Even if we maybe disagree on what Ali's game plan was in the matchup, where he deviated from what you and I would have, how we would approach the matchup. The same holds true in either case, is that the sweepers are just very hard for JB to overcome unless JB has extremely explosive starts. He never really had a great Obzon Company draw. The one game he won in the match was just a curve of creatures while Ali stumbled.
Yep.
And Ugin, Oblivion Stone, very challenging for JB to overcome if he doesn't have his best draws.